We are the DFPN. Always question the answers.
No Gimmicks Podcast, and we bring it to you. Every time we turn live, man, you know it's the truth. Every after show, moving down, it's the time to move around. No Gimmicks Podcast is going down. Every night, every time in the ring, this is the time for the No Gimmicks, know we doing our thing. What's your state of mind, state of mind? Moving down a statement when we take the line. This is exactly wrestling the state design. When you see Stone Cold like me, with the stunner in the world, exactly, man, what we bring. Every night we move like Brock Lesnar, the F5, no gimmicks. We take you to your limit, what's the feeling? When we live in the air, you know we on, it's the time. Guarantee we move, you know how we respond. The state is mine, the state design when we feel it. Moving down, what's the healing? No gimmicks is the feeling.
Yo, what is up, people? Welcome back to the No Gimmicks Podcast. Here on the DFPN, we got a solo dolo episode today. My homie Frank D, he is currently working. It is a Saturday, so we needed to get this one out and get this one out ASAP. So we have some things to talk about today. We're gonna kind of keep this one as streamlined as possible. It's all about WrestleMania and what we're doing. I'll probably throw some double or nothing picks in there. We got a busy weekend of wrestling today, tomorrow, long weekend. So let's talk about it. Let's jump into this show. You know what it is. Welcome. Let's get into it. No gimmick style. All right, WrestleMania 42, previously announced by The Rock live in front of an audience that they were going to be in New Orleans this year for WrestleMania 42, next year, 2026 would be emanating from New Orleans, Louisiana. That is now changed. They came out with an announcement that they do plan to shift the schedule. Triple H made this announcement himself yesterday, stating that there would be a change in the schedule, a shift in the venue. WrestleMania 42 will no longer be held in New Orleans, Louisiana. It will be held in a venue to be announced later. Heavy speculation on that. Get to that in a minute. But instead of WrestleMania 42 next year in New Orleans, you will be getting Money in the Bank 2026 from New Orleans. There has been a ton of backlash surrounding this announcement, surrounding the circumstances around this announcement, because things have happened. There's a lot of things in motion, and it's put a damper on the WrestleMania picture. That it has. And let's jump into why. One of the biggest things that happens when a WrestleMania is booked is when those smaller promotions start to organize and they start to plan, because once you get your schedule in place, a lot of these other venues these companies, they try to follow you. You see it every year. They try to put on their biggest shows around the biggest show, and it ends up being a fun time. That is the first hit of this announcement. A lot of these people had these places booked. A lot of these people had plans already in place to go to New Orleans. They had stuff rented out already, and a lot of that stuff you cannot get back. There's going to be a lot of lost money for those companies that have booked their expenses already. They've already wrote this on their books, and now they have to take it off. So that is one of the biggest hits. The second biggest hit that you're going to see from this is from the actual fan. And I can tell you, with WrestleMania 41, I was one of those people. When I found out where it was going to be and, planning ahead, like once they made this announcement, I had already booked my shit. point blank period, because I knew, I was like, it's going to be in Vegas. They're going to hike up prices, which is another thing. They're going to hike up prices. Everything's going to be expensive around that time. So the more I'm ahead of this thing, the better off I'll be. And I was still, once I got to Vegas, it still wasn't enough, bro. It was crazy. The expenses are wild. So for the average fan that has already booked theirs, I didn't book mine for New Orleans this year, because I was like, it's more close. I got more time and I got places I can stay. You know what I mean? A lot of this stuff was already a foregone conclusion. I got places I could stay. I could just drive there, but for the average fan that doesn't live in Louisiana or close to Louisiana and has already booked that travel, now they have to take that off their books too. So there's a lot of collateral damage with this release of information. So it's in a weird spot. And one of the biggest rumors about WrestleMania was that it was going to be held back in Vegas. And oh my God, people don't want this. I don't want this because my experience with Vegas was overall positive. But as I said earlier, a lot of this stuff, even though you plan for it, once you get there, the amount of change that happens in a lot of time, there's a lot of moving parts. Transportation, like one of my biggest flaws of WrestleMania 41 was the transportation, right? And I was like, man, I made a big mistake not renting a car. And normally when I go to Vegas, I normally prep for this stuff. Like I've gone to Vegas. My daughter lived in Vegas for about 4 years, so I was privy to how to travel, where to go. I had all this stuff planned out, but that a normal person that doesn't really go to Vegas doesn't have this information on hand, So you can very much get caught with all the prices. One of the biggest prices was the Uber. And I was like, man, I messed up real bad because I could have just rented a car. And overall, over that weekend, even though they hiked up prices for rental cars, which is why I didn't rent a car, I should have. The renting of a car was about $150 for the week. And I was like, nah, I can just Uber, save some money. Not the case, bro. The average Uber was about $40. So that's what you're going to find yourself up against, especially if that thing goes back to Vegas. A lot of people, the transportation to the arena is going to be the same as it was because there's only one way into the into Allegiant Stadium, and it's all kinds of awkward. People got stuck. There's videos of people getting stuck on an escalator at the New York, but a lot of this stuff, man, it's like I don't want to go back to Vegas, even though I had a really good time. The overall experience, I did a lot of things. I met a lot of people. I shook a lot of hands. It was awesome, but the hassle around that, I'd rather not go through that again. So if it does end up back in Vegas, there's a high chance that I'm not doing that shit. Hell no. And I can understand the fan that doesn't want to do it because there's a lot of money involved in normal WrestleManias, So when it was here, spent a lot of money, and I was local. So I can understand somebody traveling from far, like New York or Seattle or, somewhere that you have to actually spend a lot of money on plane tickets, bro, that can get really, really expensive. So I'd rather not see it in Vegas. I do have some venues in mind that wouldn't be as expensive. First of all, do not go to a big city. Indianapolis was a great location for a lot of people, but then you have to think about the weather. And that's a lot of things that people are going to have to think about when making these decisions on where the venue is going to be. Is it going to be in the dome? Is it going to be in the stadium? If it's in the stadium, is it going to be warm enough to hold this event in the stadium and get people in the arena? There's a lot of moving parts to this, but it just blows my mind that you've already made this announcement for WrestleMania and you change up. And it speaks to the disorganization, right? There's a lot of things that are happening now that WWE is under TKO that didn't happen when they weren't. all this stuff was already planned out. Things were already in motion for the next WrestleMania. You already had this going on. Things were already booked and moved in motion. Matches were being made. You knew once you came out of the previous WrestleMania that everything was going to reset. This time under TKO, it doesn't seem like that, even with the WrestleMania, because you've already changed the plans. And it just seems like the bottom dollar isn't the bottom line isn't the fan. The bottom line is the dollar in this situation. And you never want to see that, especially as a fan. You definitely want to see that if you're a company. You don't want to see people disgruntled and not satisfied with the product because you keep changing. Like, make your decision, stick with it, build towards it. There's no reason why New Orleans could not have been the site of WrestleMania 42, other than they got an offer for more money and they're going to make more money off another venue. That is the only reason. And all signs do point to WrestleMania 42 will be in Las Vegas. So it's just, it's weird, man. It's a weird time. And seeing this from a company like WWE, which has been such a juggernaut and been so uniform and tightly put together on these things, it's weird. It's a weird look. You expect this from a company like AEW, right? Because the ticket sales are not moving, or things have to be moved, but never from a company like WWE. They always have this stuff put together. This is like second nature to them, and now it's looking like it's not, which is it's a weird aspect, if you ask me. It really is. But hopefully they can put this together and make the fans happy, because that's really what you want. The fans make the company. The company doesn't make themselves. The fans make it. So hey, it's the entertainment business, But tonight we have a Saturday night main event. We made some predictions on that one already, but it's, I don't know, man. We got 4 matches on Saturday night main event. We have to get out of this routine. And that's another thing with Vegas, man. Like, yes, WrestleMania is the big show, but you got to stop these ticket prices, man. Ticket prices and the lack of matches that entertain you, it's not it. It just isn't. It's not it. So figure this out. Please figure this out. But Saturday night main event, you got 4 matches you can build on, all great matches. Hopefully we get something out of this, because right now it's seeming like WWE is just throwing stuff to the wall and hoping it sticks. But that's just me. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. If you are listening to this podcast, please leave a comment. For those that are actually watching, thank you guys for tuning in to the show. I appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts. Is this a bad move for WrestleMania to be moved from New Orleans to a venue to be determined? Does this look bad? Is this going to excite you if they move back to Vegas? Would you be willing to attend the WrestleMania if they move it from New Orleans and they move it to a venue that's actually closer to you? And those are things that people need to think about too. I'm not just gonna fly off the handle and say, screw them. I'm not supporting WWE anymore. They suck. No, things have to be. You have to put your ducks in a row, And it sucks because I was really looking forward to going to New Orleans. It's closer. I would have spent less money. I had things all lined up. It really does suck that they moved this thing from New Orleans, and we're not going to be able to attend it like I wanted to. But hey, there's always money in the bank. There's always money in the bank. Let's go to the comments real quick. What's up, Mac? Mac, aka your boy. Welcome to the show, my guy. Thank you for leaving a comment. And he says the only people who should be pissed are those businesses that already put money up for it. I actually agree with that. I do agree with that. Because those are the people that they're gonna suffer. They're losing money. They're losing money, and then they're gonna lose more money trying to book another venue, being that, where they determine it's gonna be, they're gonna lose more money on that location. So it sucks, man. It really sucks for them. It really does. But if it is Vegas, I think they do have a chance here to redo a lot of things, because like I said, in Vegas, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of places you had to be. A lot of people overlapped and booked on top of each other. If that is the case and they are going back to Vegas, I do suspect that there will be a change in everything, because one of the biggest problems is you had matches over here that were fire, and then you had matches over there that were fire. And you had to pick because they were both going on at the same time. Everybody was running shows at the same time. And you missed out on a lot of good wrestling because of that. There was a lot of matches that I would have loved to have seen, but I was covering GCW, which had some phenomenal matches. And I'm actually glad that I got to cover GCW, because one of the matches I saw was Sabu's last match. So I'm kind of glad I did that. But again, I missed out on people that were on this show, like Maya World. She was all over Vegas causing ruckus with the matches that she was having, and I missed them because I was covering GCW, and I heard that she was putting on bangers, bro. And I was like, I really wanted to be there to support her, but I'm here doing this. You know what I mean? Like, it was those types of situations. People that I wanted to support, people that I wanted to go out and see. I hope, if it is Vegas, I do hope that they fix that part, because there are some phenomenal talents that come out for these things. And if you're a fan of one company, you may not get to see somebody that you're actually a fan of because they booked something on top of that. But I do feel that. And he says, as a fan, it sucks that now we're waiting to hear where it's at. Low key making it harder to get ahead if the travel surge. Absolutely, man. It absolutely is, because like I said in the beginning, one of the first things I did when I learned that it was in Vegas was booked all my shit, because like before Vegas actually caught on and hiked up the prices, because that's when they were the cheapest. If nothing's really going on in Vegas at that time, then it's relatively cheap to go there, book your shit. You know what I mean? But if there's something going on like a WrestleMania, like a big event, and that there's going to be people coming in town, and then they had all kind of shit going on in Vegas too. So they hiked those prices up tremendously after it was announced. So once I found out, like I got the announcement that it was going to be in Vegas, I booked my stuff right then and there. You know what I mean? And that's what the average fan may be doing. That may not be my idea. You know what I mean? Like, I try to get ahead of it, but you now see these people trying to get ahead of it, and people catch on to that and hike the prices up immediately once they find that out. So yeah, that's going to be something that's going to make it harder. And if they've already had plans, they got to withdraw from those plans and then go into something else. It's definitely going to be some collateral damage here, but I agree with that. Definitely some TKO shenanigans. What's up, Jeff? Welcome to the show. Jeff found in the chat said it's definitely some TKO shenanigans. Yeah, it is, man. Bottom line, it's money. That's what it is. There's no reason for you to pull this thing from New Orleans and then put it in another venue other than money. That is it. It's greed. So, and then Max says, do you think it's a bad look for Triple H? Cracks in the armor are already showing with the comments The Rock made on Pat McAfee. Yeah, absolutely, man. And for him to come out and make this announcement yesterday is kind of like damage control. But anytime you have somebody like him and The Rock, who've already have a history of bad blood and they're now in leadership positions, some of this stuff can be playing out and they're just not acknowledging it. But the fact that The Rock actually made this decision to go to New Orleans for WrestleMania 42, announced this decision only for Triple H to come out later and say, it's not really New Orleans, right? But we'll give it money in the bank. It seems like somebody's making a decision and then somebody else is going behind them and saying, "Nah, we're doing this instead." And that's kind of like the WrestleMania picture, right? Because The Rock was involved with the turn of John Cena, but then he wasn't involved anymore, right? And then we don't see him anymore for WrestleMania. After WrestleMania, he goes on Pat McAfee and makes these comments like, I had to jump out of the way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just seemed, a lot of this stuff seems suspicious. And it won't shock me, not one bit, if we get an announcement saying The Rock is no longer a part of TKO. And this definitely reeks of someone is trying to get him out of there. And maybe he's like, you know what? I'm out. You guys aren't listening to my ideas. You're not rolling with it. I'm out. And that's what it seems like for me personally. Is that the case? It may not be, but it definitely reeks of, hey, this guy, we don't like his ideas. We're gonna pivot. Definitely. Do you think moving Money in the Bank there is a good idea? Like, I don't think Money in the Bank. No, it doesn't, bro. It doesn't bring in the same money as Mania. Mania is the cash cow. What it does for cities, and it's because when WWE comes into town, they bring all these smaller promotions with them. We've seen it in Dallas. They had a whole bunch of great shows, whole bunch of great conventions. By the way, WrestleCon was already booked for New Orleans. They had already booked the convention center, and with this change, right, they're gonna have to find another venue, and WrestleCon may be in jeopardy too, which is a very good opportunity for fans to meet some of their favorite wrestlers of the past and the present in one spot. Like, it's phenomenal what WrestleCon does for fans of wrestling. It's one of the best conventions out there. And if you lose that, you lose a chunk of revenue. This is, besides WrestleMania, this is one of the biggest draws to going to a city for WrestleMania. I know people personally who went to Vegas, did not go to WrestleMania, and had just as much a good time doing WrestleCon, doing all the smaller events around WrestleMania. And if you take some of this stuff away from it, it's going to be bad. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to make as much money. So having a Money in the Bank, it's kind of like what they did with Minneapolis. Minneapolis was supposed to get a WrestleMania, but they pivoted from that. And now you're going to get I think this year is going to be no, it's next year. You're going to have a 2-night event in Minneapolis, right? And it's like, dude, why are we doing this? Why are we taking this something away from a city, but like, here, take this other pay-per-view as payment? Like, why? But TKO is one of those juggernauts now. They don't just have WWE. They have UFC. They have PBR. And I do think that they're trying to stage these weekends to where you have big events, like you may have WrestleMania on one night, UFC on another night, PBR on another night, like PBR Friday, UFC Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday, right? Or, you know, what they're doing now. But they're making money hand over fist, and that's the bottom dollar. So whatever city is willing to pay them, like, as long as you get something that builds for your city, the city doesn't seem necessarily sad about it, right? Because they're still getting something. Money in the Bank isn't a WrestleMania. Hell, it ain't even a SummerSlam. So the fact that New Orleans is even getting it, like, what does that do for New Orleans? It really doesn't do anything. It'll generate a little bit of money, but it won't generate as much. But if you add on some of these other events, like if I have Money in the Bank in conjunction with the UFC numbered event, that may be something. That may be something for the city, because it's not only bringing in wrestling fans and the smaller promotions around them. Now you're bringing in all types of fans from all different genres. So that's another thing to think about too, financially for TKO, and that could be what they're chasing. But the fact that you get rid of a big event like WrestleMania, which, you are right, it's on par with the Super Bowl as far as generating revenues for city, is a big money maker. A lot of people come into town for that, not just from America and the States. Like, people come from Europe from all types of places, right? Just to go to WrestleMania, just to experience it. Not only WrestleMania, you may go because they make it a week out of this stuff. You go to WWE World, you go to the Raws, you go to the SmackDowns, NXT events, right? All this stuff is generating money, right? So with that being a part of that package, it's smart. It's smart for a city to say, look, I want WrestleMania and the UFC numbered event. If you can give me that, I'm okay. Or if you give me a UFC numbered event with a pay-per-view that you think is going to be good for the city, a lot of people are going to draw to it. Is Money in the Bank one of those? Not necessarily. I think you need a big four, like Minneapolis said, give us SummerSlam. Okay, cool. And we'll be happy with that. And come back to us for WrestleMania, which is what New Orleans is doing. Give us Money in the Bank, a UFC numbered event, and come back for WrestleMania, and we'll be okay with that. But the fact that you're kind of screwing up the current plan to get there, I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea, because you just killed off a lot of money. You have money on the table hand over fist that will make your city a lot of money. But is that worth killing off that much money for bringing other eyes into your city? Maybe, maybe not. And that's what people need to ask themselves, if that's enough for generating money, which right now, looking at it from outside in, the cities are like, okay, we'll take it. That's it. You know what I mean? That's it. That's all. But we'll get there eventually. Oh, good question. Do you think they'll move any other PLEs into two-day events to make them more attractive to cities? Yes, they've already started doing that, right? SummerSlam's it's moving to 2 days. I think you're going to get a 2-day Survivor Series eventually and a 2-day Royal Rumble. I think they're moving the big fours into 2-day events. Which, if I'm being honest, I don't like these ideas. If I'm being honest, the reason WrestleMania was actually a 2-day event was because of COVID. And it made sense because you had another promotion out there that was actually doing 2-day events, and it was working for them. And that's Wrestle Kingdom from New Japan, right? They do 2-day Wrestle Kingdoms, and they've been doing them, and it's always been a big deal. For WrestleMania, because it is the biggest show, which is what Wrestle Kingdom is for New Japan, it's their biggest show. With WrestleMania being the biggest show, I can understand that being 2 nights because it just works, right? Any of those other shows, I like SummerSlam, I don't think that needs to be 2 nights. Any of these other shows, you don't need them to be 2 nights. And low key, WrestleMania this year was so bad for me, like entertainment wise. You didn't need 2 nights of WrestleMania this year. You really didn't. Honestly, you didn't need 2 nights of WrestleMania. You could have made one night with some great matches that had a lot of value into them and got rid of some of this other stuff. And then one of the best matches of this year in that company wasn't even on WrestleMania. And it should have been. So, and that's what I mean. Like, you don't need 2 nights of this. You really don't. And with these other PLEs, you definitely don't need 2 nights of them. So, but cities with bigger venues, I'd like to see, if I'm being real, I'd like to see them go to a place like Atlanta. Go to somewhere like Atlanta, Charlotte, somewhere smaller that you know where people are gonna go, because they do have big what am I trying to say? Big stadiums, big venues, right? So Atlanta, Charlotte, you can go to San Diego. San Diego has Petco Park, which is a great venue, right? If you want to do that, but you don't have to go to a big city with a big venue. Like, there's other places that you can go that will generate you just as much money for that city. I thought New Orleans was that, right? But obviously they aren't going to New Orleans, so maybe they'll come back to Dallas. That's a blind hope of mine. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But all signs point to Vegas right now. All right, so We're gonna cap that off, and then we're gonna get into some AEW because we got some double or nothing picks that I need to make and give you all the information that you need for AEW Double or Nothing coming up this weekend. AEW Double or Nothing. Like, if you're on Patreon right now, please do me a favor. Me and Jen did a reaction to the first AEW Double or Nothing. One of the best matches from that card, and that is Dustin versus Cody Rhodes, brother versus brother. If you haven't seen this reaction, please do me a favor and get into that reaction once this show's over. It is gold. It is gold. I love doing these reactions. We're going to do another one this Monday. For anybody watching, if you want to be involved in a reaction, we do them every Monday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. We do those every Monday on Patreon. So if you're watching or listening, if you want to be involved in the show, see the reactions, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, every Monday we do these reactions. And they're a joy to do them. What's up, Nightmares and Nerdscape? CJ, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Thank you for tapping in. And we're going over the AEW Double or Nothing picks for this week in Phoenix, Arizona. 6th year that they are doing the Double or Nothing. It's crazy to believe that. But 6 years, AEW has been in business. Let's jump into these reactions. We're going to start with the men's Owen Hart final. Will Ospreay, the aerial assassin versus Hangman Page. If you haven't been watching AEW, these two guys have been telling a phenomenal story. And that's one thing that I do want to give kudos to AEW for. They've started out the storytelling. It was a bit slow, but you could tell that they were trying to tell stories. They have gotten into a groove, and this story is one of the best ones that they have. All these matches that are on this card have great stories attached to them that this past Dynamite gave us some phenomenal promos for. This was one of them because both men absolutely burned it down with what they had to say about this match, about upcoming. This doesn't need to be just a tournament final. And they did this tournament, great matches, great stories told throughout the tournament, but we are here in this finale to where both men are seeking redemption, and both men are vying to be the face of AEW, and both men are saying, we are the one who can topple Jon Moxley from this reign of terror. Please, one of them do it, but they are the man to get the job done. And it just makes for compelling television. With that being said, my winner for this match is Will Ospreay because I do think this is his year. I do think that he's put in enough work. He needs this win. And going into All In here in Arlington, Texas, I think he's going to be the man in that main event that will get that job done. This is the main event for Double or Nothing. I do think they're closing this out strong. I do expect that this will have something of a big match feel to it, and Will Ospreay is going to come out on the other side of it. Although, if Hangman Adam Page wins this match, I would not be mad at all. At all. And then we're going to go to the women's side of that tournament with Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter. And again, both women, and real quick, shout out to Mercedes Moné. She has upped her game tremendously in AEW. Right? She started off really rocky. Fans really didn't gravitate towards Mercedes, but she has come out and she has been such a great fit for this company, such a great ambassador for this brand, and she has elevated this women's division to heights that it has never seen. You could tell that the women's division of AEW has really gravitated towards Mercedes Moné because she is such a star and she absolutely fits that role perfectly. And with that, she's brought on Jamie Hayter, who was in relative obscurity. after being injured, coming back. She had to fight back to get in this title picture. But she and Mercedes have told a great story, both again, about being the face of the women's division. Jamie Hayter, who is a former champion, has stated that she had to fight and claw to get back to this title because it wasn't guaranteed. The women's division has been absolutely stacked, and she didn't want to be forgotten. That alone, I was like, I need her to win this match. Although I know she won't. But it's created a situation to where I don't know who's gonna win, right? And the story that they have been telling on AEW Dynamite has been great. So I'm gonna go Mercedes Moné on this one because I do think All In Texas is built for Mercedes Moné to be her grand stage. I do think that. And especially with where WWE is, I think this absolutely sets AEW up for a great amount of success and putting a lot of eyes on their product. It really does. Having her in the event to chase this title for Tony Storm, her and Tony Storm would be a great match at AEW All in Texas. But we'll get to that in a minute and why I don't think that's going to happen. So my winner here is Mercedes Moné. Although if Jamie Hayter wins this match, won't be mad. Then we got the AEW tag titles on the line. The Hurt Syndicate versus the Sons of Texas, who is Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. Like these two in this match because they are day one AEW guys. And with this being the anniversary of the first All In, Saturday will be the official 6-year anniversary. Sunday, they're doing the pay-per-view. So I do like that they are the day one guys that are getting the tag title shots. They're going up against the Hurt Syndicate, though. And the Hurt Syndicate has been the best story on AEW television with the addition of MJF and him trying to get in the Hurt Syndicate. It's brought a little bit of relevancy back to MJF because he is with some absolute killers in this ring. And with him and them looking like absolute stars, that has been the best story on television, on wrestling television. Really, it's been compelling. It's been awesome to watch. But I do think the Hurt Syndicate get this done. I do think they walk out of here with it. Although I'm glad that 2 day one guys are in this match. Maybe we do see some shenanigans. Maybe we do. But all signs point to Hurt Syndicate retaining those titles. Then we have a stretcher match. Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe. I do think this is kind of like the Rock Mankind situation, built to make Ricochet look tough. Ricochet has been doing some of his best work in AEW so far. This has been the best work of his career. Going on this stage, being the villain that he is, being how loved Mark Briscoe is and how violent Mark Briscoe is, I think this match will set him up to be a credible villain, a credible heel, going for that championship. Whoever is in the title picture after this match, with Ricochet coming out on the other side of it as the winner, which I do predict him to win, that's a great challenge. That is a very great challenge for him. And then we're gonna go to Anarchy in the Arena. I'm gonna skip this lineup. I'm gonna skip around a little bit. Anarchy in the Arena. We have John Moxley, Marina Shafir, Willa Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, and the Young Bucks versus Samoa Joe, Willow Nightingale, Will Hobbs, Katsuyori Shibata, and Swerve and Kenny Omega. I do think the latter, the Ops and Swerve and Kenny, I do think they get this done. This is one of the worst stories for me in the AEW, is because it just seems like they just threw something together, which I do think this is the tail end of that story. At least I hope it is, because it's one of the stories that I think got jacked up. They had a plan in place. The plan didn't go according to plan, so they move on. And I do think Anarchy in the Arena, which is one of their annual events, is going to put this story to bed. And hopefully on the other side of it, we get stories with Kenny and the Young Bucks or Swerve and John Moxley, right? Something credible that we can tell stories off of, because there's stories there. But the person I want to see are two people I want to see come out of this match with something strong is Willow Nightingale, who just re-signed, and Will Hobbs. I need both of them to come out of this match with something very, very credible, very, very awesome to do, because with them being in these roles, I do think that they've done great jobs. Will Hobbs has been a great champion for the trios division, but I want to see him in singles. It's time. It's time, guys. Will Hobbs needs to be in the title picture. He's proven his worth. He can absolutely carry the championship. He looks good with the belt around him. Please, please put this man in the title picture. Give him a push. But we could also see a return here. Eddie Kingston's been out, been relatively forgotten, out of sight, out of mind, which is crazy to say because he's absolutely loved. And if he comes back during this match, that place is going to go ape shit. It really is going to go ape shit. And then we have a Continental title match. The Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada versus Speedball Mike Bailey. I do think Mike Bailey comes out of this. This might be the match of the night. It really might be the match of the night. These two guys, they aren't main players that absolutely should be main players. And I think this match is going to put a lot of people on to what exactly Speedball Mike Bailey is capable of. I do think that. Everybody knows what Okada's capable of because him and Kenny is like an urban legend that everybody knows about. But I do think him and Speedball Mike Bailey, again, we have some show stealers on this thing. I do think this one is a potential show stealer because both men are they're absolutely phenomenal competitors. And I think putting them in this match was a smart idea. It is a really smart idea. If I'm looking at this card overall so far, there's no misses on this motherfucker. For real, bro. Like, for real. One thing AEW is really good at is pay-per-views. They are really phenomenal at these shits. This one has zero misses, even on the buy-in. This is zero misses, but this match in particular, out of all these hits, could be the biggest one, and it's because both guys can go. And then you said it best, CJ. Okada's a damn star. Yes, he is. He absolutely is. And it's my hope that we do get Kenny versus Okada at All In, and you combine these belts. I hope that's what's going to happen, but we don't know that yet. But I do hope we do get Kenny versus Okada at All In, because boy, banger alert. And I'm going to go ahead on this one. I'm going to say Okada takes it. Although I want Speedball to take it, I think Okada's going to take this one. And based off what I just said, you go to All In, Okada versus Kenny for the belts, and combine those belts to make one belt. I do think that's going to happen. So, and then we got what I think should be the main event. Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa. And this match, again, all hits, no misses on this card. For the ladies and the stories that they have been telling, I think Toni Storm deserves, because that's bad. I think she's earned the right to main event this pay-per-view based off what she's done for the women's division. If Mercedes has elevated it, Toni Storm has solidified it as a legitimate division based off her character work, based off her matches, based off the attention that she too has brought to the women's division and the credibility that she has brought to the AEW Women's Championship. That championship is coveted because of the work that she's done with it. Enter in Mina Shirakawa. A lot of people don't know who she is, but if you're an AEW fan, you've definitely seen her before. And she's had matches with Mariah May. More on that in a second. She has matches with Mariah May. She's been one of the best performers in the women's division in the world for a long time. So her versus Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship is going to be incredible, which is going to lead me to there's going to be shenanigans in this match. I do think we see the return of Mariah May, and Mariah May will cost Toni Storm this title, and Mina Shirakawa is going to win, which leads me to my earlier point. I think we get Mercedes versus Mina at All In, with Mercedes becoming the women's champion, because you can't have her versus Toni Storm. Although that match will be great, someone has to lose. And you have two of the women who've elevated this division going up against each other. I don't think you want that to be the case going in All In. Someone has to lose, and I think it's going to be Mina to Mercedes, which is why Mina is going to win this championship. But she's absolutely going to be a great champion for as long as she's champion. And there's that. But we got some other matches on the card. The buy-in. We have the Don Callis family, Konosuke Takeshita, Josh Alexander, and Kyle Fletcher going up against Paragon, which, if you know Undisputed Era, that's who they are. Adam Cole, Roger Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly, which is going to be a good match, which is crazy. All of these guys are main event guys, and they're in a trios match. But again, it's where the best wrestle, and the best guys are in the best positions right now. And that's honesty. And that speaks to the strength of AEW's roster. And now that they're in the storytelling business, they've been some of the most compelling characters on television, the best guys. So it's hard to say these guys need to be higher up on the card. It's crazy because in NXT, they were top guys. I'm talking about Paragon. They were top guys in NXT. Beloved, known, revered. But in AEW, that isn't the case. But that, again, that speaks to how strong this has been and how strong the storytelling has gotten as of late. But I'm going to go to the Don Callis family. These are all main event guys too. I think with the Don Callis family, you have three of the AEW's future on one team. Josh Alexander is a star. Konosuke Takeshita is a stud and should be in the title picture right now. That man has not had a bad match since he showed up in AEW. Not one. And he's had some great competition. I think with this guy, you need to find a way, because he was international champion for a while. And he held that belt great. Defended it across the world. Great. Great ambassador for AEW. I think eventually this man needs to be the AEW champion. Eventually. And let him be a heel, because God, he's that great. And then Josh Alexander is also a star. Kyle Fletcher is a star and a stud. With these three guys, you have the future of AEW. No lie. But I think the Don Callis family wins this. And then you got four women, actually, that I think are the future of the women's division. Anna Jay and Harley Cameron going up against Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. These four women are like your new four horsewomen of AEW. Honestly, Anna Jay is a day one who's built herself up tremendously. Harley Cameron has become a star who the crowd loves. Megan Bayne is an absolute animal, bro. Listen, AEW, I don't know if you guys listen to the show or not. I feel like you do. I do feel like you listen to the show. Megan Bayne needs to be pushed. From what I saw from this woman in Las Vegas, the Megan Bayne that is on AEW television is watered down. This woman is like a female Brock Lesnar on the real. super athletic, super strong, super intimidating, and flat out, she is phenomenal, bro. Phenomenal. I need y'all to figure out how to make her a star. Don't slip, don't let her slip out your fingers. Grab hold tight, and push her to the fucking moon. Figure it out, because you have a star with this woman. I'm not lying. You have an absolute star with this woman. And Penelope Ford is a big reason why she's gotten attention. And that makes a compelling match. I think they get this done, but that's the card. Again, all hits, no misses, coming to you tomorrow night. I may react. I'm alone and unsupervised this weekend, so I may react to this match. And we may come hang out. More on that later. I'll probably announce it before I do. But that is the show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys tuned in. We're going to go to final shots and thoughts before we get up out of here. All right, final shots and thoughts. We got one question came in and says, which match do you think is going to open? I think it's going to be Mercedes and Jamie. I think they're going to open up. But wherever you go, you can't go wrong, honestly. But before we get out of here, I do want to say shout out to everybody that tuned in, left comments. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening. Again, this was kind of a pseudo emergency podcast because we just got this news. We got a lot in wrestling going on this weekend. So with this popping up in here, I had to make sure we get an episode in. Thank you guys for tuning in for this whole time. You guys are amazing. Make sure you guys tap in. We got shows dropping. Go to thedfpn.com. Make sure you guys stay tuned to all the episodes dropping. Shout out to Cutting Edge here. Tabletop RPG. Great shows dropped. USDN. Man, there's so many podcasts. Cutting Edge Heroes. We got so many podcasts that have dropped. Eat the Cake Anime is coming back. Make sure you guys tap in. We have so many great shows across this network that do phenomenal work. 2025 has been an excellent year for DFPN. We have nothing but you to thank for it. So please do us a favor. Go to these shows. Go to thedfpn.com. Go follow these shows. Leave messages. Leave comments. Let them know how much you appreciate them. Because with this year, you guys have made sure that we've been put on a pedestal. So thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. But I think that's all I got for this week. I don't have anything else. I think I've said all I needed to say. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in to episode 96. We got 4 more episodes until we reach our landmark episode of 100. For my co-host who's normally with me, make sure you have your pet spayed or neutered, and I'm going to do it like he does it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you know it's hot outside. Get your dogs spayed. You know, if you don't want to walk on these pavements, what do you think your dog does? How do you think your dog feels? Put your dogs in safety. But if you can't, make sure you have your dogs and your pets spayed and neutered. Protect the animal population. And that's it. That's all. Justice. But thank you guys for tuning in to the No Gimmicks podcast. Until next time, have fun, stay safe, enjoy what you want to enjoy. Peace.
We are the DFPN. Always question the answers.